As you can see by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking to you about my current experience when it comes to why I no longer build muscle with calisthenics. And keep in mind, this is coming from a guy who's been training consistently while primarily using calisthenics for the last 6 years. So let me stop yapping and let's get right into this video. So it's safe to assume that as a natural calisthenics athlete, I've done pretty good with my physique and just overall progress with my strength. And objectively speaking, right, I can confidently say that I'm not the biggest guy walking around in the gym, but I'm definitely not going to be the smallest or even let alone the most average physique in the gym. And with that being said, even though I made a lot of progress, I came a long way when it comes to my physique, my overall strength. I am now stepping away when it comes to specifically training for hypertrophy. I am no longer chasing the aesthetics when it comes to my training. And this isn't because I've given up on like how much I can naturally obtain when it comes to putting on size to my body, but rather I've noticed like a natural progression to my training over the last, I would say maybe 2 years because of my evolved goals, which is to pretty much focus on training for strength. And at first, this wasn't something that I've intentionally done. It was something that I just kind of noticed more so recently based off like, reprioritize goals, because I never actually wanted to just specifically train for strength, as I've always been accustomed to kind of approach my training regime centered around, training for strength and hypertrophy, meaning, focusing on structuring the right exercise selections, hitting enough volume, and just making sure that I'm training optimally as a bodybuilder, right? Keyword, I wanted to kind of train with the lens of a bodybuilder, but through the use of primarily calisthenic movements. And of course, over the years, I've seen the results, I've seen the growth because, I took my time, I did my research to understand what's quote unquote optimal when it comes to building muscle and utilizing calisthenics for my efforts to build muscle. But with that all being said though, as of late, the goals of chasing aesthetics, the goals of focusing on my training specifically for being optimal for hypertrophy literally became less of a priority. I just didn't care as much. I mean, let's be real here. Training for aesthetics is not so great. I mean, we got literally grown men out here injecting serums to their bodies, getting on stage, damn near half naked, right? For the purpose of trying to see who has a better physique than one another, which can not only leave a lot of harmful side effects to their health, but like, if you really boil it down, like you're literally just competing to see who looks better half naked with another dude. Like that's kind of sus if you ask me, which also kind of like leads younger men who kind of like seek inspiration from these bodybuilders, right? I'm not going to name any names right here. I'm just talking very generically right now. It leads younger men to kind of seek inspiration from these folks to assume that these bodies are naturally obtainable when in reality they're not. And if they do know it's not obtainable naturally, then they get inspired to start hopping on, those specific serums, etc. when they have no business on being on stage just for the purpose of trying to look like their inspirations and just, maybe take a picture, a video or two, post on social media. They're literally just being programmed to just copy a very degenerate, lifestyle, if we're being honest, right? Then we got the other end of the spectrum, which is pretty much where we have a lot of these women on, social media platforms getting surgeries that cost thousands of dollars, and they market themselves as what? Fitness trainers, online coaches, when they themselves haven't even put in the work or the actual training that they're promoting to get that body. So that thus then leads, the younger audiences who are looking up to these women, right, to think that they can achieve that body based off their programs, based off their advice, when yes, they might be saying some true things regarding how to work out, etc., but they're kind of misleading their audiences because they themselves haven't put in the work. They haven't done the right training regime to get that body. And if we're being real over here, the physiques, quote unquote, that these fitness influencers have, specifically to the women, like they're not that hard to get. All they got to do is just put in a couple of years of hard work, be in a gradual calorie surplus, and boom, you're going to get that physique to some degree. Obviously taking genetics into account, fat distribution, etc., and so on. So at the end of the day, it's misleading, both audiences, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, etc. If you're looking for people who are harming themselves through the use of chasing aesthetics, if you're looking at people who are, getting surgeries to chase aesthetics, and then they then go ahead promote themselves as a fitness coach with a source of knowledge so they can give you programs or whatever, like, just know it's going to lead you down a very dark rabbit hole. And yeah, that's the whole really principle to why I don't chase aesthetics anymore. I think that's the reason why a lot of people kind of face this body dysmorphia issue when it comes to training for aesthetics, because you're never going to be satisfied with your physique. There's a saying where whenever you train and you get that pump, once you're off that pump, like once you're done working out, you will never look as good as your pump, because once you get big as your pump, after progressive overload, putting some time, that pump that you will not have with the bigger physique is still gonna be bigger than when you don't have the pump. So pretty much in a nutshell, I don't know if y'all follow along with that analogy, but pretty much in a nutshell, you will never be satisfied with your aesthetics to some degree. There's always gonna be more to improve on. So that's kind of the approach that I'm taking. I'm no longer trying to focus my training regime centered around aesthetics. Rather, I want to focus more so on strength. And to my case specifically, I'm not going to cap. Like, I had to some degree body dysmorphia, right? When I went through my countless cutting and bulking cycles, and I did it accurately. I did it with proper methods. Of course, I wasn't like going to the extreme route. As someone who wants to get good at calisthenics, if you're trying to bulk, you're going to notice that your skills is going to take a tank, right? And if you're trying to cut and you're doing weighted calisthenics, you're going to notice that your weighted calisthenics is going to take a tank as well. So it was kind of like I never felt advanced, or I never felt good, whether I'm cutting or bulking. And the only time that I can really see a lot of progress on both, training styles, whether it's my weightlifting movements and weighted calisthenic based movements or my skill training, is when I'm kind of just maintaining. But we all know maintenance doesn't necessarily build muscle. So I kind of had to, prioritize one over the other, which in my case, I think I did do the correct choice, because at the end of the day, I wanted to look strong, right? I don't want to just be strong and then with a shirt on, not appear to be big. So I'm not going to regret my past 5 years of like specifically training for the purpose of building muscle, encompassing with, including strength training as well. But I'm at a stage now where I'm very content with my physique. I no longer think that I have that image where I feel small, whether I'm in the gym or outside of the gym. Like, I actually get a lot of compliments, actually more so outside of the gym, with like oversized t-shirts and whatnot. So you can tell based off or at least I can tell based off the interactions, like I got a good physique, above average, etc. So now I'm trying to focus more so on the lens of obtaining those calisthenic based movements, so I can actually feel more accomplished within the calisthenics realm. I know y'all kind of get a lot more content from me specific to weighted calisthenics, because based on my physique, I'm more suited for weighted calisthenics. And that's because I've done the bulks, right? I put on muscle, I was able to put on size. And if you know, mass moves mass to some degree, but now I'm trying to focus more so on skills. So that means I got to be lean as possible. I got to be strong enough to be able to do those skills, be able to move my body weight through those movements like the planche, the front lever, etc. Improve my handstand push-ups. Like, that really does help a lot whenever you're at a lighter body weight. And I've noticed that significantly. I've done a cut so far over the last month and a half. I've only lost about 8 to 10 pounds, but I've noticed a big increase in strength to my specific skills that I'm training. So yeah, kind of going back to the initial point, when it comes to my goals, I had the goals of improving on planche, front lever, handstand push-ups, but the way that I was training at that time was kind of clashing with those skill-based movements, at least in an optimal sense. Like, I was still training those movements, but it wasn't the most efficient ways of going about it, because if you know about, programming in general, you got to allocate limited volume for your muscle groups per week. So I can't be doing a lot of volume on just skills and then neglect my dynamic based movements. Otherwise, I won't be building muscle. And of course, on the other end of the spectrum, I can't focus all my volume on just dynamic based movements to build muscle and neglect my strength based movements, such as my skills. So there was like a push and pull with like, all right, how much volume can I allocate for my skills, and how much volume can I allocate for my weighted dips, my weighted chin-ups, my squats, etc. Because that's the thing with training within a bodybuilder lens is that you got to be able to hit all the necessary muscle groups with the right exercises, so you can come with the purpose of training at a very balanced approach. So your physique is the reflection of your training, literally. So if you're neglecting exercises that neglects certain muscle groups that aren't being targeted effectively, then that's going to correspond to how well your physique looks like, which will be neglecting in those specific muscle groups. Which now leads to my current training split, where it's majority of the times specifically catered for prioritizing my strength and my skills, and also my dynamic based movements, such as my weighted calisthenic movements and my squats. So the first 2 days is going to be a skill and a full body day. This can be like more so focused around strength based training approaches, such as, training with lower hold ranges or lower rep ranges. And my skill-based days more so centered around the planche, the front lever, and handstand push-ups. Then we got the full body day. So this is where I'm focusing on just my primary movements, the weighted chin-ups, weighted dips, and front squats. But I'm also doing accessory-based lifts, one for my upper body, another one for my lower body. And I pretty much just repeat that for the second half of the week, but it's just different hold ranges or rep ranges. So I'm doing more volume-based training method approach. And the whole purpose around this particular split is because I mentioned I'm trying to focus more so on increasing my strength. So I had to be very specific with the exercise selection. I shouldn't be choosing exercises that's ideal for hypertrophy. I should be training movements that I just want to get better on, which I've already said before. It's the skill-based movements and then the full body-based movements. The isolation or accessory work is really just there to kind of like not be completely neglectful of my hypertrophy based training. Plus I kind of do find joy of training, ladder raises, bicep curls, for my legs. I believe they're called reverse Nordics, Nordic curls. Like those are actually fun too. So they kind of do give me some hypertrophy based work. Even if they're not the best exercises for hypertrophy, I still find joy in them because I don't like just to do compounds. I don't like to just do strictly skills. Sometimes you try and get a good pump too. So that's why isolations kicks in. Now I will say it's been about 7 to 8 months since I've been doing this training split, and I've definitely seen a lot of improvements, not just to my skills, not just to my weighted calisthenic based movements or my squats, but I've also noticed some physique differences. Nothing crazy because obviously I'm 6 years into this now. I'm not going to see a lot of changes in just under a year. Right? If anything, half a year, give or take. But I've seen a lot of improvements strength-wise. And I think this is the approach that I should have taken a long time ago, had I been, content with my physique. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm not building muscle with this split, but I'm definitely not building muscle with this split because I'm still training the movements that still built the foundation of my physique, like the dips, the chin-ups, right? I'm still doing the squats. Like these are my bread and butter. Whether I'm entering a strength-based phase or just a bodybuilding phase, I'm still gonna have these movements. It's just the fact that I'm kind of taking away all the additional supplemental exercises, whether compounds or isolations, that I just don't need to focus on because it's not, productive for increasing my strength on my primary lifts. Like I'm not doing rows anymore because there's no need for me to train rows. It doesn't really help my chin-ups. It's great exercise for building the depth of your back and if you want to learn the pull-ups, but I'm not even training pull-ups, right? And I'm not even at a stage where I need to improve my pull-ups by training the rows. I actually need to focus on doing more pull-ups. But like I said, I'm not training the pull-ups regardless. So that's kind of the intention behind this routine. And I've seen results, and with this kind of mini cut that I've approached recently, that even expedited the results even quicker too, because I'm at a lot lighter body weight. So yeah, just to kind of point it out, like I'm not here to use the split specifically for building muscle. It's more so just to improve my strength. But hey, what do I know? If you want to see more content like this, be sure to follow me, man. I'm Tough Fitness Scout shit. No cap.
Cobra Trains, he's up next. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. He's number one out here.
He's the toughest fitness guy out here.